Hello, hello. Last time we left Kytheon, he had been taken to jail. While in jail, he still decides to stand for justice, and basically fights and stops any prisoner who is acting like a bully. Kind of respecting his conviction and commitment, the prison warden decides to kind of take him under his wing and begin teaching him magic. Specifically, I think it's numeromancy, which they don't get too much details, but is kind of a magic of like numbers and order. But it seems, even in jail, Kytheon has access to his regulars. And it seems the Warden uses a somewhat fire-based deck, which is interesting. So far, nothing in the deck is showing up that we didn't have before. But basically, this one is another straightforward one, and all that's going to be added, if anything, is maybe stronger creatures. But basically just play any land if you got them, try to put as many creatures as possible, and unless your opponent has reach, flying creatures are really good to put down because they can only be blocked by another creature with flying or a creature with reach. So basically attack, if it stops you, it's probably gonna die, and basically just keep doing damage. Your goal is to, at all times, be attacking with more creatures than your opponent can block. Yeah, I decided to go ahead and skip the skill quest, cut them out. They're not very interesting. It's basically like a duel puzzle, if you've ever played any of the Yu-Gi-Oh games, where the answer is like immediately obvious, and there's basically like very few ways you can actually mess it up. But the instant in this one, it basically just boosts your creatures up. I don't have enough to cast it anyway, but basically here I was just hoping that mutually assured destruction would occur. Just sometimes all you can hope for, because now my opponent has none and I have two. The prison warden is throwing philosophers at us. Seems irresponsible. Hey, you're a traveling philosopher? How would you like to help the guards stop some ruffians? Okay, you've helped the guards. How would you like to help the prison warden teach their prisoners magic? Seems like a hard sell. The elite vanguard. And apparently the philosopher is strong enough to take out the cat warrior. Must be an unbelievable philosophy. Of course, it makes slightly more sense when you are aware that the world that Kytheon started on, the plane, is based on kind of ancient Greek mythology to a degree. Decides to block, but the eagle still makes it through. Kind of repetitive at this point, but man, that bird would be in poor shape if the Warden had thought to bring some anti-artillery. Somehow, in prison, Young Kytheon is still able to call wild animals to fight for him. The eagle, of course, makes sense. They can come from the sky. I'm wondering how the hell he got an elk into prison with him. Now, you could probably argue that maybe that's the... now we see why the Warden is packing mountains, so he can rain thunder from the sky. I also like the music quite a bit from Kytheon's campaign. Some of the others can be somewhat repetitive, especially if you have to do the same match over and over and over again, and they on a loop, but some of them loop well enough that it doesn't much matter. And basically, I've powered up my Glory Seeker so that whoever gets through... Basically, so the Glory Seeker could survive the onslaught from the Traveling Philosopher. And interestingly enough, the first kind of white weenie deck I ever encountered had Glory Seekers, and it's very staple white card. And thus we have beat upon the Warden and his Traveling Philosopher with our Glory Seekers and the Moose, who just kind of showed up at the end for moral support. But we basically Kytheon trains for 4 years under the Warden. Being very good at it, and sporting some very impressive sideburns. Now, in the next part, we shall be fighting harpies, where we get to see a bit more of the world that Kytheon comes from outside of his city and his prison. And we even get to see some more magic cards in action, perhaps an aura or an enchantment. Join us next time where we see how Kytheon fares against the Harpy Swarm.